Brazil, the place I could only dream of visiting as a child. Being so far away from where I grew up, Belarus, it sounded so unbelievable to ever be able to go there. But I always wanted to see this country for myself, and here we go, in 2016 I could finally visit Brazil. We had only 2 weeks and went to 5 different places in Brazil. Rio de Janeiro, of course, with its landmarks like the Christ the Redeemer, Copacabana Beach. And then we went to Paraty, which is the coastal historic town that also has gorgeous beaches. São Paulo was our third destination, Brazil's vibrant financial center. Florianópolis, famous for its beaches, and Foz do Iguaçu, the place for visiting one of the world's largest waterfalls, Iguaçu Falls. In this video, I will talk about the places one by one, just as we visited them. And the first one was Rio de Janeiro, or as Brazilians call it, the Cidade Maravilhosa, marvelous city. On the only sunny day out of 3 in Rio, we went to one of the best city's landmarks, the Christ the Redeemer on the Corcovado mountain. Corcovado means hunchback in Portuguese. To save time, we took a van to get to the mountain and then walked the rest till we reached the statue. Already from the back of it, I was so excited, thinking to myself how lucky I got to be able to be here. As expected, the place was packed with tourists. Though it was quite early in the morning, there was no chance to get an empty spot to stand and admire the view. The view is fantastic there. From here, you have a panoramic of the downtown Rio, Sugarloaf Mountain, the Lago Rodrigo de Freitas, Copacabana and Ipanema beaches. On the way down from the mountain, we spotted this marmoset, who apparently is native only to east central Brazil. We had to make the most out of this only sunny day in Rio for us, so once the van took us down from the mountain, we went to the Jardim Botânico, the botanical garden in Rio. The garden shows the diversity of Brazilian and foreign flora and offers a chance to see and learn about both Amazonian and imported plants. The botanical garden is a must-see for nature and wildlife lovers. Of course, we had to stop at the Copacabana beach, which is depicted on many postcards, mainly because of its beautiful beach, striking pavement pattern, and also the famous Copacabana Palace Hotel. Every day there are thousands of cariocas, natives of Rio de Janeiro, and tourists strolling and jogging on the famous wavy mosaic pavement. Oh, I did enjoy the beach as much as I could, not just the gorgeous view of the ocean, but the Sugarloaf Mountain and listening to the Brazilian song. So yes, I understand why this beach is one of the most iconic and popular ones in the world. The last day in Rio was just like the first one, gloomy and rainy, but we did stroll around the city a lot, just imagining we lived there. This kind of day and weather was perfect for visiting different museums, and one of the museums we visited was Museu de Amanhã, the Museum of Tomorrow, which is an astonishing landmark. It appears to be floating on water. The museum itself displays different exhibitions which consider the origin of our planet and its possible futures. But one of the best parts for me was seeing my friend Roque, who I'd previously met at school. He and his daughters were amazing welcoming us to their country, and if all Brazilians are like him, I have to say these are the most hospitable people in the world. We then headed to Paraty, one of Brazil's best preserved coastal towns. The bus ride there from Rio was wonderful, with stunning views of the seaside. So, Paraty is a small town backed by mountains on Brazil's Costa Verde between Rio de Janeiro and São Paulo. Paraty is an exquisitely preserved colonial center, recognized as a National Historic Site since 1966. It's rare these days to see a place so well preserved, and when you visit it, it's as if you are transported back in times. A few historical facts about Paraty. The village of Paraty was founded in 1597. It was established formally as a town by Portuguese colonists in 1667 in a region populated by the Guayanas Indians. The Guayanas, people who lived where the city now stands, called the entire area Paraty. In the Tupi language, Paraty means river of fish. Soon after colonization, gold became the most sought-after article in the 17th century, and Paraty grew into a crucial stop on the way between the mining region and Rio de Janeiro. We spent a day just wandering along the colonial streets, and we even caught this gorgeous sunset. Paraty is also a place where you can find secluded beaches, and this is where we wanted to go the next day to explore. We booked a day trip to a former fishing village, Trindade. That road trip provided some beautiful views, as you can see. Now, Trindade is a charming seaside resort known for long, sandy beaches. Located about 25 kilometers south of Paraty, Trindade occupies a long sweep of stunningly beautiful coastline. Here you can chill and hike along four of Brazil's most dazzling beaches, such as Pilho, Ranchos, Neio, Cachedaço. Even though it didn't feel windy that day, but those waves, look how huge they were. Again, a reminder of the power of Mother Nature. We spent half day at least at the beach, chilling, walking, taking pictures, watching the waves, admiring the masterpiece of nature. The Trindade place is such a gem in this part of Brazil. It was also our last day in Paraty, and the next morning we took a bus to São Paulo. It was only a 4-hour journey, but it went by so fast as there were a few beautiful places we passed by. And in general, when you travel in a new country, everything is new to you. You basically feel mesmerized. When we reached São Paulo, which by the way is translated as St. Paul, already from the map of the metro it was clear how huge it was. So on the first day in São Paulo, we walked around the city, and some of the places we got to see were Paulista Avenue, one of the most important avenues in São Paulo, Museu de Arte. We also visited the São Paulo Metropolitan Cathedral. Its construction in neo-Gothic style began in 1913 and ended 4 decades later. And then we saw this Altino Arantes building, which was inspired by New York City Empire State Building, as you can see. One place we didn't get to see though is Beco do Batman, famous for its graffiti that lined the streets. Well, maybe next time. We ended the day with this beautiful sunset, and on the second day we went to Ibirapuera Park, an urban park in São Paulo. I never skip nature spots when traveling. Believe it or not, it is the most visited park in South America, with 14.4 million visits in 2017. A day in this park was a perfect end to our São Paulo trip, and we were ready to catch a flight to our fourth destination, Florianópolis. I'm really glad we took a flight because once again we could witness how huge São Paulo really is. As we were approaching Florianópolis, we could tell that it was something magical, true nature gem, and we couldn't wait to see it for ourselves. Floripa, as the locals call it, is safe, fun, and picturesque, and it is also called the Magic Island, where there is a belief that its charm and beauty conquers whomever steps foot on its soil. Fables from years ago tell tales of witches casting spells and curses on locals. Legend says that the boulders off the beach of Praia de Iguaçu were once witches before they were turned to these stones. The most common story is that witches would frighten the fishermen, steal their boats, and play with their fishing nets. To this day, there is a belief that those who move to Floripa have to ask for permission from the witches first. This will ensure they will be successful and have a good life. So after enjoying the beach and hearing these legends, we walked around the city. Florianópolis is quite a modern city. I felt it could be a wonderful place to live where you have a perfect balance of a big city with all it has to offer, and a number of spectacular beaches at the same time. After Florianópolis, we took a bus to our last destination in Brazil, Foz do Iguaçu. It was one of the most anticipated places for me as a nature lover. We arrived there in the morning and decided to walk to our Airbnb. I was surprised to see the road signs with the direction of Argentina. You don't really see the country directions like this. We wanted to go to the Itaipu Dam, a huge hydroelectric dam on the Paraná River between Brazil and Paraguay, but it was closed that day. Still, it was cool to be right on the border between Brazil and Paraguay. Right after that, we went straight to the Iguaçu Falls. As expected, there were lines and lines of tourists to get tickets, but they all went pretty fast. And we were ready to get on a shuttle that would take us close to the falls. What we spotted right away was a number of coatis there, and the signs were all over the place not to feed them as they can be quite aggressive and violent. And then there was this breathtaking view. I almost cried when I saw the Iguaçu Falls for the first time. No wonder it is one of the most important destinations in Brazil, Argentina, and the whole of South America. The Iguaçu Falls, Portuguese Cataratas do Iguaçu, are one of the great natural wonders in the world. So they're located right on the border between Brazil and Argentina, and therefore the Iguaçu National Park consists of two national parks, one in Foz do Iguaçu, Brazil, and the other one in Puerto Iguaçu, Argentina. UNESCO declared them as World Heritage Site in 1984. The park is really crowded, and you often end up standing in line just to get a picture with the view. We did it once and chose to spend the rest of the time just walking around. I love this rainbow there. Being right there, listening to the sound of falling water reminded me how small I am compared to this fascinating force of nature. So why are these waterfalls so famous? It is enough to just see photos and videos to be amazed by its beauty. But it is not only about tourism. The Iguaçu National Park is home to many species of animals and flora that create an important natural ecosystem connected to all Latin America. We couldn't resist getting the closest to the falls possible and went on a boat tour. First, we had a short ride through a part of the jungle, and then got on the boat that took us right into the falls. Here's me before getting on the boat, and here's my face after our boat went under the fall. As cold as the water was, I couldn't be happier. Iguaçu Falls National Park was our last stop in our trip around Brazil. 2 weeks are just such a short time to see this massive country, but we did the best we could and we're ready to head to Argentina. I love Brazil and would love to go back there again.